The district-wide account, which is it does do some of the district-wide testing,
Yeah.
like fire extinguishers, whatever, but it also is to some degree a contingency that we use for needs. That was budgeted at 23. We've spent close to 40.
Yeah.
I know Pearlie, I can't tell you the specifics, but I know both Pearlie and Pembroke have gone over. Frankly, I mean, I hate to say it this way, but we're fortunate that a lot of this stuff right now is being covered by insurance, including the replacement of the control system at Pearlie.
Oh, it is being covered.
That is being covered by insurance, but that conceivably would, if that failed outside of, an insurance situation, that would have been a $50,000
So
expense.
this budget as it is right now has level funded maintenance.
Right.
Level funded
Level
to
funded
what?
up to the budget.
To the budget
budget.
for last
Not
year.
to
to
what
what we
we
spend.
expend.
And so you already expended $80,000 more than
I mean,
budget in two schools
In two examples,
that
right?
you
Right.
recall.
Which if you ask the principals, they would tell you that that's why they haven't had any money spent in their budget
Absolutely.
since October.
Totally agree. And these things are only gonna get worse. Our buildings aren't getting better. Right?
No, that's absolutely
Every year that we don't maintain them, which has been going on for quite a while, it's just gonna keep piling up worse and worse.
Now, I would tell you that the town, Mike Farrell's worked very, very hard with the Energy Committee, and Reggie Tardif. They've worked very, very hard, and they're going to be proposing a performance contract, okay, to do energy enhancements in the school. And one of the things that will do is that will free up money that will be able to be reinvested, both town and school, in very, very badly needed deferred maintenance issues. So will we be able to deal with some issues? Absolutely. We will not be able to deal with all issues, and then again, if you continue to not budget for appropriate, preventive maintenance,
Equipment.
I mean, we haven't even talked about the custodial and maintenance equipment, which is I've probably got 15 machines right now, broken or really beyond
Dire straits.
repair.
And remember, even if we were to get a new school, that's 5 years away. So Pembroke is gonna start to get, those fees, was one of your examples, Pembroke, the 4,100?
Yeah.
No.
No, I think the
Middle high school, you were
middle high school is close to 100.
100 and budget was 40. So
Budget
that
was 40.
60, and then the district was actual 40. And
So we don't know Pembroke, but that discrepancy has to continue to grow, and this 879 with user fees
Well, I mean, I'll give you a
and to the extreme doesn't cover our maintenance issues. that are
for
gonna happen.
example, something that
But
happened.
just let me
okay,
finish my
sorry.
point. So my point is, when something goes wrong in the future, and we've already cut out all this, think about how painful the cuts are going to be when something goes wrong to pay for those things, because they're going to have to be fixed. Those are going to be some painful cuts over the next couple
Well,
of years.
you're going to be in a situation where if there's an open position, you conceivably would have to look at not filling that position to pay for a maintenance issue. That's the situation you would be in.
Or even if they're filled.
Yeah, and I apologize. When
I don't
you
know if
asked
you-
about Pembroke, I was thinking to myself, for example, a recent example that's not covered by insurance. I guess people are calling them dog houses. I'm sorry about that, but
I call it a fish house.
fish house. That's what I called it. I appreciate that. At the cafeteria door
The
that comes
entryway?
out, the entryway, and then on the side going out to the playground. Those two items were built to protect students from ice fall off from the
Right.
roofs. Those are about $3,000. And that doesn't sound like much. It's actually a pretty good price for what we got.
Are you going to
But-
remove those and then bring them back? What are you going to do with those?
Actually, we're probably going to leave them in place.
You
Are we going to
paint
put
them?
roof shingles on?
Yes, we are going to shingle them,
Okay.
Paint them?
and we'll paint them. But we were trying initially, obviously, to get them in place to protect the students.
I think let's go on to where we are on the numbers. Last year from the town, we received 11.5. The town contribution
Right.
to the overall budget was about 11.5 million.
Yes.
It was 11.6.
11,550.
What we actually ended up with was 11,523. What the budget committee, the finance and
Oh,
advisory
but we
committee
have to
had
go higher
proposed
because of
was 11,633, and it was
Okay.
ended up being cut because we were over the levy limit.
So we need to be at 11,550,884 this year to meet net
Correct.
school spending.
Correct.
That includes the 27,000
Correct,
that we're gonna be short.
correct.
Okay.
Did we not have a list of capital improvement things we needed in the schools and a
Yes.
timeline
Yeah, we
on
did
those
a
lists?
We-
long
we
range
did.
facilities
So you
plan.
can foresee the ones we haven't done, because I'm sure we're behind, and the ones that have to come in the next couple of years or this year.
Terry put
And
them
what's-
together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he has it.
It was
But it's not built, but are we taking that into consideration?
no,
where-
we can't.
None of that will be done.
No.
We aren't taking
Eric,
into
we're probably only
consideration
budgeting 50% of maintenance week.
We don't even-
Understand, but some of those things might, in the middle of the year, force
They will.
us to cut after we make these
Yeah.
That's
cuts.
correct.
That's correct.
That's correct.
I mean, it's much like the
Not that it might, it
technology,
will.
just like the technology plan that we have
Yeah,
that
but we haven't funded any of that.
we haven't.
Yeah, but these are things, those,
I'm betting the principals are out there right now expecting to see on July 1st a budget freeze memo. I would not be shocked if that is the thought process they are having.
No one's nodding their head in disagreement, so I'll take that as affirmative.
I want them to all be here in
What
July.
about the food program?
I guess my point though, when we go, say we
Oh, okay.
compromise now, we come up with a compromise number. It's a false compromise number that we're giving to the town because we know it's not gonna be
Well-
the real, it's not gonna get us through next year.
It gets back
It's
to what
impossible.
Carol's been saying since she gave us this. This budget isn't. It's to get to the number that we were required to get to, and it doesn't represent what any of us, what I don't think any of us believe, is giving our children the best education or the best opportunity to learn on a going forward basis.
This is,
I think it's what is required to open the doors on September 1st or the first day of school. I think that it is the absolute minimum to open the doors.
And not at the level you currently have it.
Correct.
right.
That's right.
Food service program?
The food
What
service,
price is going up?
the food service program, I would tell you that I'm talking several times with Diane Halapowski. We really, really would like to hold that increase to 25 cents or less. One of the things that's impacting your budget proposal and impacting food service is there are considerably higher costs being allocated to the food service than really should be. For example, we have lunch recess aides. I think all of them except for one is being allocated in their entirety to the food service program, but in reality, probably there should only be about half of that position in each of those instances, because obviously the recess portion has nothing to do with food service. You have a custodian at the high school, a maintenance person at the high school, who has a significant portion of his salary during the day attributed to the food service. He does take care of the lunchroom during that time, but it would be far cheaper for the food service to hire somebody within their budget to handle those duties, not to mention the fact it would free up that person
Be better for us.
to do duties that are needed at the high school, because the high school is understaffed in its custodial and maintenance
But
department.
he's
so-
there because we can't afford
But
to
he's
put
there
him on
because
the
we can't
budget.
afford to. So, utility costs that have been charged there, I think are, I'll be nice and say on the high side. But we have done that because that is what we've needed to do to keep these budgets at a point where, frankly, you can get them approved.
And are you increasing them now? That was the question.
Increasing,
The lunch,
We will have to, there will
Well,
there will
that's
have
the
to be,
question.
there will have to be at least a 25% increase, in my opinion. I think I agree with Diane.
last year we did what, 20 cents?
2 years ago.
2
years
ago.
ago.
You did
But
25
Diane
cents.
just actually brought a new spreadsheet back that she came back from
Yeah.
working with her, her
Right.
colleagues in the area, so we can give you a comparative
Correct.
study again about that, so you can take a look at
And I
that.
think we do have concern about, you do reach a price point, like,
No one can buy
it's
lunch.
basic retail.
Right,
Right.
Okay, you reach a price point, it's like we were just talking about with fees,
right.
where people are not going to buy your product anymore because they can't afford it.
Well, they're not getting anything more for the price.
Well, that's,
Right.
I think
Yeah,
that's
that's-
it. I think that's
yeah.
it. The cost of everything is going up, so it's not
It's-
like you're getting a,
It's like when the
Right.
Hershey bar went from 10 cents to 15 cents and the size was reduced. It's the same
Yep.
scenario.
so we will be prepared to talk to you about lunch prices.
Yeah, we're gonna have to because the fund balances have
Yeah.
gone
I
from
can't believe how you said it now.
73 to 20 to 2.
Yeah.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
I think that's the important thing, I think that maybe the public doesn't realize is that in order to make these reductions, we've actually, used resources that, that we had available that now is really not available anymore.
Right.
So it doesn't look, you don't even see it in the budget because it's being paid for out of other sources.
And that, I think that's part of the problem when you talk about what is our target budget number, and that number is really referring to what the town contribution is to our budget, as opposed to what we're relying on any of our revolving accounts for. And when you look at some of the increases that people purport to see, it's really a shift of taking a teacher off of choice and putting them back into the budget, as opposed to a new teacher.
Right.
So.
And I mean, as you just mentioned, you have between two revolving accounts, I think is a little over $100,000 in special education expenditures that they've covered over the last 2 years, that otherwise would have either had to have been absorbed in the school budget, or you would have had to go to the town and ask for money from free cash.
It's my bad, I thought I turned it off.
Okay.
Or just turn it off.
And I'm looking- I mean, some of these positions on here though, I mean, if we're looking at the list, so the first real position we're cutting is because everything else is fee-based, right, except for the supplies on the cut list.
Correct.
We have
Right.
the special ed teacher at the high school.
Right.
So I just out of curiosity, why is that, what was the thought process behind that being a lower priority than
Mhm.
having 19 students? I gotta be careful. We have 19 students.
We have a long way to go. We're hoping it corrects itself.
19 students in the kindergarten classroom, and then 23 students in a Pembroke classroom, which is in 5th grade.
Because I think that we thought that if we were successful in bringing 1 to 2 students back, that cost would be able to be covered. I think that's why we had it up there, figuring that just like here, there may be other ways to get the top ones, there may be other ways to get the position funded.
So you think based on
To get tuition savings.
strategies you've already implemented,
That's right.
that this
That's
would, okay, I got it, that makes sense.
So you think that the thought would be you might not have to cut that because we know that there are some children or students that you've been speaking to that you might be able to bring
Right,
back.
that's
Correct.
obviously contingent on the fact that the programs that
Well-
we put in place are still the high-quality programs that we have.
right. So it's you're kind of playing double jeopardy with that one.
Well, I think that we would look at the various programs that we have, and obviously the programs that we've got students coming back into would not be
You
the
can't be
programs we would
touching.
touch.
Okay.
But the 19 to 20 students in kindergarten
Yes,
are based on, is it census data, current known
That's-
preschool students? What's it based on?
Well, it says there's 82 in preschool now.
Right, it's based on enrollment projections.
Of how many?
The enrollment projection is 92. Now, I will tell you that is enrollment projections that for example, the MSBA is run as well. But that would be the lowest enrollment that you've gotten in kindergarten in some time.
Right, but the numbers haven't.
Oh, yeah, no,
Going
there's,
down.
well, you're having, Margaret, you're gonna have your kindergarten registration, in April, right?
Right.
Starts in April?
The registration
Yeah.
is next week.
I was going to say, I
sorry.
thought I saw that in the
It's
record.
almost April, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's coming up, so we'll have a little more information there. But also, there's houses for sale, you don't know who's going to move in.
Right.
Last year, if you remember, we were gonna open 4 choice lots if we didn't hit 110, and we hit 110.
right.
Okay.
So we don't know, George.
What did you start out? So you had 96. So you had 106 though. Last year.
Trying to think of
Yeah, I
what
think
we
if
did.
you had 4
I
slots.
think after
Well, we got
registration, we
some
had
more numbers
100.
coming up.
Yeah.
Which is actually a good thing. I'm not sure those houses are gonna sell though.
Yeah, well, I think right now this is obviously working with the numbers that we are projecting.
So this class size discussion comes up.
Yeah.
And I've done quite a bit of research on this, and I get mixed results, so
Yes, of course.
I'm not the education expert here. What does data say about class sizes? It seems to be mixed.
It is mixed. What usually class size data indicates is if the number is lower than 15, there's a tangible and measurable impact. Much beyond that, there are really, a lot of variables. The quality of the teacher, right? I mean, I had classes of 32 as a teacher some years, and then I had smaller classes that the makeup of the class was even more difficult, to work with. So there are factors. I mean, clearly I can say that, it depends on what you're asking. You know, I mean, I can say in Georgetown, you know, what we're asking of the kinds of educational, instructional models that we're using, they are very teacher intensive, and they do require interventions. So it requires not only the initial instruction